Welcome everyone to Nymbl's Intelligent OCR webinar. So I appreciate everyone joining and excited for a great demo by Paul and Girard and Associates as they've been able to take this concept of intelligent OCR and make it work with their company's processes and kind of embedding it into their core business. So we'll go through a little bit about Nymbl, processes of AI, stuff like that, and really just how to apply it to different industries and sizes of the company. Perfect. All right. So just some quick introductions here. I'm Zach Barrett. I'm head of our sales engineering here at Nymbl and lead our AI technology. That's our AI technology partner. And I've been working with a lot of different customers to kind of scope out use cases of AI, how to implement it, and really how to leverage AI in their company. Joined with me is Paul Girard. He is president, CEO, and founder of Girard Associates. He's been running the company for 20 plus years now and excited to hear more about him and his company. And we'll have a full introduction from him in a minute. Quick agenda. We will be doing introductions to AI and kind of setting the context of what we're about to be demoing, just to make sure we're all on the same page about AI use cases and components. Then I'll be handing it off to Paul. He's going to go over the context of Girard Associates, demonstrate kind of how he's using Intelligent OCR today. And then at the end, we'll just close up with a little bit about Nymbl, what we do, and if you found anything interesting today, how to follow up and get in contact. Perfect. So let's start with why are we talking about this now? Why does this matter, right? So we're seeing AI more and more take a front seat in day-to-day activities that companies are running, right? Your business as usual, AI is becoming a part of that. So it's also becoming more and more than just a chatbot. Right? It's not just using ChatGPT to answer generic questions about your day, and maybe it has some expertise of some pieces of your business, but overall it's becoming more than that, right? It's being embedded into workflows that businesses are running. It's allowing to take these very manual processes that you have this process and it is running and maybe pieces of it are automated, but now you're allowing AI to come in and automate that reason for the employee, make employees more efficient, bring it to the employees whenever something happens versus having to pull and have someone just go and look for things, right? Doing better triggers for that. And so we're seeing this kind of transition of, okay, ChatGPT is cool and everyone is using it, but how do we take that to the next level? Right. And that starts off by looking at different use cases of just what is generative AI and how can more use cases like chatbots be placed with business context directly in applications, right? Using chatbots with OpenAI or ChatGPT is kind of the back-end power, but taking that a little bit further, pushing in context files, information about your business and industry and making it a little bit more catered. You also have different point solutions that allow you to maybe create some content, media creation like social posts, slide decks. And this is kind of like another use case of it getting, a little bit better, stepping in the right direction of putting generative AI on the board. But the more advanced use cases come from taking AI and really using the core components of AI, which we're going to go through, and moving it into the next level use cases. Right? So moving into enterprise search or RAG technology, being able to use that technology to search your files, communications, details about your documentation, and just have better context and easily answer questions directly about customers, your employees, anything about your business. And then making sure that all of that is completely access controlled. Only these people in this piece of the business can access these pieces of data. But then, that kind of ensures that, okay, instead of going and asking IT and HR and all these different people and sending 2, 3, 4 Slack team messages, you just have to ask one agent or one chatbot, and it's going to give you all of those answers all at once. Next is document AI, which is what we're mostly talking about today. It's gaining a lot of popularity in a lot of companies because they're using it to read PDFs, CSVs, any unstructured data pieces that they're they have today and populate information, whether it's in a form or a database or some type of system of record. And we've come a long way, right? We used to do this all on paper, and now we're in PDFs. But we're now seeing, okay, well, if I'm reading a PDF and someone sees me a PDF and I need this data in my database, well, now I have to go and we have to use employees and have people go in and literally copy and paste values from one place to another, right? And that's not efficient, right? That's kind of okay, let's see what the next level is. We went from paper to digital, now what's next? And that's really where document AI takes OCR or optical character recognition to kind of that new level, because now you don't need every single document to be in the same format, right? You don't before OCR, okay, I need person name to be right here every single time, right? And that's kind of a thing of the past with intelligent OCR. So it's a little bit more realistic. It's pretty hard to get all your clients to have exactly the same PDFs formatted every single time. And then most recently, we've been seeing the surge in agentic AI, right? Being able to see how AI can take chats and running workflows to a new level, allowing AI models, tools to run workflows, right? Send emails, update some data, call some APIs, connect to your different data sources, like your databases directly, or maybe you have a SaaS product like Salesforce or an ERP like NetSuite. You want to connect to those data points and allow access to those via AI in a secure way. But then you're giving it the ability to read the data from those places, right? Use complex use cases of even taking all of that, packaging it up, and using agents with agents, right? We're seeing that agents really thrive whenever you have them for a very specific purpose, right? 5 to 10 tools max. You give them, you are really, really good at working with the CRM. And then you have this orchestration agent or agent on top of other agents. And that's just kind of routing to all the different agents and verticals you have within inside of your business. And it sets it off and says, hey, this is the intent of this user chat or this workflow or this data change. This is where it needs to go. This set of agents or this perfect agent is what is going to handle this request. So in order to actually build on with these kind of use cases that we've been talking about, you really need to look at the technical components of AI. And the way that we've categorized it here is you have your core AI components. This is kind of your main industry leading right now AI functions like LLMs and computer visions that really drive the usage of AI in different components. Without these components, we wouldn't really have AI enabled components like we have in the next one. And that's like your ChatGPT as a chatbot, right? Before we would use chatbots and it would be, okay, I would chat something and would have to figure out based on very specific terms, okay, this is what they're thinking about. Okay, and it would, canned response back out. Now you're taking that to a new level, enabling it with AI. It's very much so a custom response. You have things like Intelligent OCR, which we talked about. OCR was a thing, but now it's AI enabled and it's much faster, better, and because of these core components that we're using. And then you have your AI infrastructure. And this is where you're connecting your components to. Right? You're able to layer AI on top of your infrastructure, whether it's in AWS, GCP, Azure, and you're introducing vector storages to run the searching capabilities. You're giving it access to your web apps, your APIs to consume all your data. And this is kind of what the AI needs to run on and run with in order to make it successful. And now to final, shift before we get into the demo of how does this relate to problems that your current business leaders might be kind of looking into. And you can really see how each one of these components or use cases align with them. For example, invoice processing or just document processing overall is what Paul and Girard Associates came to Nymbl looking for. And we discussed document AI, Intelligent OCR, right? And that's what we're going to showcase today. But if maybe you're looking for improved customer support, right? You may be looking at enterprise search or agentic AI or some combination of even both of them, right? So just a couple of examples. Maybe you have one here that you're really thinking about, and this is kind of that component or use case that it could align with. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Paul. He's going to discuss a little bit about Girard and really show us how to use this document AI in real business use case. Perfect.
Thank you, Zach. So, hello, everyone. Good morning. And uh, I'm the president and founder of Girard Associates, which is a nationwide EMS Quality Improvement organization. And we provide QA, QI, CQI services primarily or only to emergency medical service organizations, which are typically fire departments and ambulance services. And what we do is when a paramedic goes to a call and they treat a patient and transport them to the hospital, they're required to write a run report, a patient care report, a PCR as we call it. And that PCR has to outline all the care that was rendered on the scene, all the events that occurred on the scene, all the treatments that were provided on scene for the medical legal record. What G&A does is we upload those PDF reports into our database, and we have paramedic auditors who review those calls to look for opportunities for improvement that we can then feed back to the EMTs and paramedics who are on that call. So primarily, our auditors do two things. They review each run report to determine clinical appropriateness and provide recommendations for improvement, as I mentioned. But arguably, the greater task that they do that takes more time is they have to manually enter all of that information into our database so that we can then produce reports and the like. And that's where it gets a little tricky. So we partnered with Nymbl a few months back to rebuild the entirety of our database. Over the years, we kind of piecemealed together various parts of the database to get it to do the things we wanted to do. And we realized that we needed to update the back end of the database. So we worked with Nymbl to do that. And in doing that process, where they were rebuilding the database for us, I had mentioned to Zach, kind of as a side note, that ultimately I would really like to be able to ingest the data into the database directly from the PDFs, as opposed to having auditors manually enter that data. And he said, well, as luck would have it, we can do that for you. And so can Retool, the platform that we're using to rebuild, or Zach was using, and Nymbl, the Nymbl folks were using to build our database. Retool has an AI component to it. So we started that discussion, and that morphed into, well, let's build that into the updated database that we were building. So in working on that project, we discovered, and to me as a paramedic and an EMS person, I'm not all that familiar with the whole AI wave that's been coming. We all know in our industry, for example, that a lot of products are coming out with AI enhanced services. And it really was the folks at Nymbl and Zach in particular who kind of explained to me the benefits of how AI could benefit us in the CQI process. So the things in particular that are helpful is one is it reduces the time that our auditors take because they don't have to do manual data entry. So they can spend more of their time analyzing the report, making sure that the care was all appropriate, and crafting their comments and notes back to the providers that the care that they rendered could be improved in some fashion, as opposed to spending a significant amount of their time manually entering data. So it speeds up the process for them, which is helpful to us, and it allows them to do more of their core responsibility as opposed to manual data entry stuff. The other issue is that we process tens of thousands of run reports per year, and our auditors are excellent at being accurate or as accurate as they can be in data input. But the fact that they're manually taking info off of that PDF and entering it into the database introduces the opportunity for error, missed keystrokes, transcribing information. And in the CQI process, the results of the audit determines what path that call needs to go down from a CQI process standpoint. In some cases, it goes to the medical director, for example, if it meets certain triggers. So if the auditor mistakenly enters data, they may send that down the wrong CQI path. So getting that data to be more accurate by importing it directly so that there's no error in the transition of that data from the PDF into the database is very important. What we also decided, though, early on is that we did not want AI to be looking at the clinical care, or at least not yet, because that's kind of a more complex animal. We wanted to use it primarily for ingesting data and to import that data into our database and pre-fill the fields in our database for our auditors to make their job simpler. We're not at the point yet of using it to determine clinical efficiency and clinical effectiveness. So who knows what the future holds, but at the moment, we're not doing that. So now with that said, I'd like to show you our database and show you the back end. I'm going to take over here, Zach, if that's okay.
Sounds perfect.
Okay. So here's what the back end of our database looks like. In the left-hand side, these are all the tabs, the data entry tabs that the auditor goes through. And it has most of the tabs. There are some additional sub-tabs that we have, but this is the basic outline for it. In the middle here, you see where these are all the fields, the data entry fields that the auditor has to put information in, or in this case, where AI can import that data for the auditor so that they can just review it for accuracy, but don't necessarily have to manually enter it themselves. And on the far right-hand side, this is the PDF run report. Every PDF run report maker has a different format and a different design. And what AI is able to do is, regardless of the format of the run report or the manufacturer of the run report generator, AI can pick up the same fields and import them into our database. So we don't have to worry about different agencies using different manufacturers for their PDRs to manufacture their PDRs and adjust to that. The AI does that for us. This first page is not a whole lot of action there, so we'll skip that. I want to show you some stuff on the second page. So page 2 here, you'll notice that a lot of these fields are already pre-populated. All the pre-populated fields are from the AI putting that information in for us. So you notice, for example, this is a doctored report, right? This isn't an actual report, so we use this for illustrative purposes only. But CHIPS EMS was pulled from the agency's name up top here in the upper part of the run report, along with the transporting agency, hospital destination. But you'll notice that I highlighted in yellow in the PDF the patient age, gender, and weight. And these are the fields primarily that AI is pulling from to populate these fields. One of the things we discussed and we discovered as we were doing this process is if a field provider does not put the patient age in the age field, but they mention it down in the narrative, and the narrative down here is the free flow text where they describe all the events of the call in detail. We need to go back and program the AI to look in both areas to get a patient age so that we would capture all patient ages. So it really pressed home to me the point that if you're using AI to import data or to analyze data, it really is very dependent on how you structure the prompts and how you ask it to elicit that data for you. So you have to be fairly precise in many cases to make sure that you're getting the correct values. So another example I wanted to show you is down here under on-scene times. You'll see 34 minutes on scene. And what AI does is it goes to the times listed in the report for when the call was dispatched, when the ambulance showed up on scene, when they departed the scene to go to the hospital. And it looks at the total on-scene time, calculates the difference between the on-scene time and the departure from the scene time, and puts that into the field here. So the auditors don't have to do any manual calculations of on-scene times. That's all automated for them. Another issue I wanted to bring up is, and this is an idea that Zach came up with, is I was mentioning that my concern was that the auditors, when reviewing the report, would just take the data that's imported and assume it's correct and move on. And if it has the potential to not be correct, they may not pick up on that. And so Zach's team came up with this idea of adding a confidence score. So when you highlight above each of the labels for each field, the AI is telling you how confident it is that the data in that field is accurate. So in this case, there's only 2 places to find a patient age. It looked to those 2 places, so it's 100% confident that score is, that age is an accurate number. So that gives the auditor a little more information as to whether I can trust that information or whether I need to go in and reread that run report and verify certain elements for myself to make sure that the data is correct. And the auditors have the ability for every one of these fields to go in and edit it if they don't like the values that AI gave them in some cases. The other thing we learned about AI is that in programming it can be very specific or very general depending on how you program it. And so we have a category here called extrication prior to treatment. And what that means to us on the auditing side is an EMT or paramedic is expected to treat the patient on scene prior to extricating the patient to the ambulance. And that's by protocol, they're required to do that. And so when our auditors review the run, they're looking to see if they took the patient out to the ambulance before they rendered all the care they were supposed to on scene. AI doesn't know that. So if you'll notice here in the narrative, there's under the H section of the narrative, the patient is described as a woman who was driving her husband who was having chest pain to the hospital. He went into cardiac arrest. She pulled over to the side of the road. She extricated him from the vehicle, put him on the ground and started CPR. So AI looked at the extrication prior to treatment, saw that there was an extrication involved, so it put yes that the patient was extricated prior to treatment. That's the correct answer for AI to pick up in the run report, but it's an incorrect answer for what we need that information to really be. So the auditors, again, have to be careful to verify that the information that's imported is actually accurate, or we need to go back and craft a better AI statement so that it pulls the data the way we want it to be pulled. So just a cautionary note, it can only do what you ask it to do, but you need to be careful what you ask it to do. Another category here I wanted to show you was under call disposition. So this category here is a field that we use in the QA process that a lot of the PCRs that we receive don't have a data entry element for. So some of those fields in here, it may not categorize the call as medical as we do, for example. It may find some of these other issues, such as patient refusal, ALS assumed care, whether it was a DOA. But if it's unsure and it can't give us a clean answer, and it doesn't have a reasonable degree of confidence, it leaves the field blank so the auditor knows that they've got to go and they've got to fill in that particular field. Again, we can go in and we can craft a better AI response to that field in the future. We will be doing that with some of the elements that AI is not capturing as well as we'd like it to. At the present time, we're getting about 85% of the fields that we have that we're looking for data on. AI is pulling that data and putting it in. The other 15% or so we're still working on, and the expectation is we'll get that above 95% in terms of it being able to pull data for us. So it can pull a significant amount of data for us. Again, some of the items on this, everything's pretty much filled out other than SOAPy use. This is a format for how paramedics write the report. There are different formats that they can use. If an agency requires it and it's a required field, then we can program AI to look for that and tell us whether they did or did not write the report in that specific format. So this is left empty because we didn't really program AI to do that just yet. But more importantly, this report, it doesn't lend itself to determining that specifically. I do want to show you down here on the sepsis alert. So sepsis is a clinical condition that providers need to be on the lookout for that's potentially very serious. And so we programmed AI to look at a couple of specific questions. Was a sepsis alert activated? The providers need to call the hospital and advise them that they have a sepsis patient that they're coming in with so the hospital can prepare for it. And is this patient potentially septic? And if you get a yes from either of these categories, it can trigger another tab, which you'll see here on the left, called sepsis info. In this case, there's a no. However, on this page where all the sepsis info is collected, AI found a number of positive values that suggest that perhaps the sepsis could be involved. So it prompts the auditor to say, hey, I hadn't considered sepsis for this particular patient because I was thinking cardiac arrest, but perhaps they were septic and that's what led to the cardiac arrest. Let me go back to the report and see if there's more info to suggest that perhaps there's something that was missed here. So it can also be used, AI can also be used as kind of a prompt to help the auditors to remember things that are potentially important that they should be looking into. A couple more things I wanted to show you. Again, these fields here, it filled in 2 of the 4 fields. It did not fill in primary or secondary impression. And you'll notice here on the report, there's a field called primary impression, and they have cardiac arrest. What we discovered is that if our drop-down list that we have in the database does not have that particular value, AI can't find it and put a value in. So our list specifies what type of cardiac arrest. In this case, for example, it's a ventricular fibrillation or pulseless VTAC arrest. So our auditors would pick that value. Cardiac arrest is the broad category of all patients who are in cardiac arrest who don't have a pulse and who need CPR. However, our list, because for data purposes, reporting purposes, we want to get more specific. We don't have general cardiac arrest. We have a specific category. So again, we would need to either add cardiac arrest to our list so AI could find it, or we would need to make sure that the auditors know that that's a field that we want them to fill in specifically on their own. All right, one more page to show you with some example material. Some of the important things that we learned in trying to integrate AI for optical recognition purposes to populate our database for us. Up until now, everything I've told you is a field that AI can go look in the run report, see if that field exists, and pull the data from that particular field and put it into our database. However, AI, as I'm learning and as Zach has been teaching me, actually has the ability to be somewhat intuitive. So it can scan the report and it can actually look to see and answer questions based on what it's finding from in terms of data in the report itself. And these first three questions in the cardiac arrest tab are questions that we want to know from a quality improvement perspective that are not necessarily a specific field that we can pull data from. So for example, the first one was this a witnessed, seen or heard arrest? So was it witnessed by bystanders? In this case, the wife witnessed the husband going into cardiac arrest, pulled over, took him out of the car and started CPR. So AI read the report, determined that the patient was in fact witness arrest by the wife, and it put in the value of yes. So that's pretty impressive because it can actually add an added element of how we analyze our data if it can do some of that intuitive responding that we would like it to do. The second one was a first responder or bystander CPR performed. Again, it saw that the wife started CPR prior to EMS arriving, so it put in a value of yes. And did the patient arrest after EMS arrived? Patient did not. They arrested first, so it properly answered that no. So it actually is able to kind of analyze the data to some degree, I guess you could say, and input a value in there that's appropriate in spite of there not being a specific checkbox or drop-down item that it needed to pull from the run report. In some cases, some reports have these as part of their data elements that is in a drop-down or a manner in which they could pull that data specifically. In other reports, they don't have that specific field. And again, since we use so many different run reports, it's great that AI can adjust to whichever report it's reading and pull that information regardless of the format of that particular report. So that's basically the stuff I wanted to show you and to let you know the experience that we've had with so far with how AI is able to help us in importing data into our PCR database.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much, Paul. That's an incredible demo and very well done. Perfect. So just a couple of notes, that's in terms of the technical aspects of this is we're using Retool, the low-code platform, to kind of orchestrate and do the workflows there. We're using Google Gemini, using the Vertex AI, Vertex AI to make sure it's very secure. So any of these files sending up and down are secured and unshared or trained on. So it's all a very secure tunnel process, and we made sure to verify that and walk through that with Paul and the team, before ever exposing any type of data to the AI. But yeah, great demo. Really, I really love the fact that it was able to get to 85%, and that was our really good first pass. And then, the idea of continuously getting better and improving it, and the goal is to get to that 95%. Perfect. All right. Now, let me go through a little bit about Nymbl. So maybe, a little bit of this was interesting to you. I'll go through, who Nymbl is, what our history is, and, at the end, we'll wrap it all up here. So a little bit of back history for Nymbl. We did kind of start this journey about 2 decades ago. In 2005, our founders and core senior members really started with implementations of ERPs and really implementing data migration, quality, governance, making sure that data was really good or was in the right place, or pulling it from multiple different systems. And they gave us a really good backbone of how we use data, how data is displayed, what type of data is out there. And that kind of led us into our enterprise AI, enterprise application development. And we really focused on the low-code platforms that were surging and being built to enhance and speed up development, right? Especially for that first version, phase 1, 2, 3 versions of the applications. And we're able to use the expertise that we gained from understanding data and say, hey, we understand your data. We understand how you might want to use it. Let's pull all of these data points together and build you a custom solution that, talks to everything, right? So you could now pull in reports and view data from all your systems. And with that expertise of data and now expertise of application development and how enterprises really use applications and processes within inside of them, we're now looking into the future of enterprise AI and applications and really using full stack or AI powered full stack development and AI applications to to layer on with these next level use cases. Now that we've really figured out the enterprise applications and how they're working, how do we take that and say, okay, now if you enable them with AI, they're much more efficient. Now the people that are using them become much more efficient, and they can really find data from anywhere and just ask it simple questions. And now AI is kind of concise, consolidating all that data together. And just to kind of quickly overview our offerings around all of that is we do technology advisory. So we are really looking at how to be your advisor when it comes to software implementations or just overall problems that software needs to solve, and whether or not that's custom software development or determining what CRM or ERP or something custom or something off the shelf that may be best suited for you. Maybe it's a custom development and it's determining what low code platform or full stack AI powered is best for you. Right. And we've had multiple analysis of alternatives where the actual best answer wasn't custom software development. It was actually something off the shelf. That leads us into custom software development, where we do take all of that expertise we have and really enable our teams to build really strong applications and focusing on your core business functions and really connecting all of that data together. And then we don't just leave you high and dry. We really want to enable and confirm the applications can continue to run by enabling your team, whether that's with enabling them to do and continue the support and do the development, or continuously developing and supporting you from Nymbl side, or even just continuous advisory, so that you have someone to talk to whenever some big decision like that comes up. And we've really been taking our kind of technology offering and looking at it at a very systematic level, right? So this is our system level framework, and it's how we look at businesses today. You may have applications like your point solutions here in the middle, where you are looking at, connecting to your CRM or your ERP, and that, your data for your products or your customers may already exist, right? And maybe you just want to add some application development in there to automate some workflows between them, or manage the data back and forth, or just kind of put a portal on top of them. But you also will need to figure out, how do we put all of this data together? Do we use APIs? Do we use a strong data warehouse? Are we putting all of this cloud or all of this infrastructure that we have? We're putting this on AWS. Is it Azure? Is it GCP? Where do we do that, and what is the best? Right. And then we're now expanding these systems into these integrated capabilities and enterprise AI to say, okay, now that we have everything kind of flowing pretty well, how do we make it AI efficient? Right? How do we layer that level of AI on top of it and ensure that it's getting the value of all of this information and applications that we're using today to make it just that much better? And if you are interested in looking at AI implementations, the approach that we have to even looking at anything AI is really very systematic and methodical. So we're first going to look at that next level use case, and I say next level because it's really layering on top AI to an already existing process, right? It's, hey, I have this use case and it is running, but I think we can make it that much better with AI. And so we're going to look through determining the ROI of making that AI enabled. We're going to really look at, okay, is it even ready for AI? Or do we really need to connect to, different data sources to make it AI enabled? We're going to look into, what is the human involvement? We still want to make sure that we clearly define where the human is going to be involved, and maybe they're the primary use. It's, a chatbot inside of an application, or maybe they're a little bit more in the background. They get notified of the involvement. Maybe it's a ping saying, hey, do you approve of this action? We're going to make sure, again, we look at those data sources, look at the data models that you have, look at the sprawl that your cloud infrastructure is really looking, and kind of the breadth of that sprawl, and bringing it in and saying, okay, do we need to pull all of this data into a common data model, or can we use it from all these APIs? What is the data quality that you currently have? Are there customers in 8 different systems that are all duplicated? And then look at, how do we interface with this AI? It's a little bit different than human involvement because human in the loop is really how we keep humans involved and make sure and the AI is doing what we expect it to do, but the interface of how do we start the AI process? Is it human based where I go and I click a button or I chat with a chatbot, or is it something where it's in the background triggered by different events, maybe a new data or a new customer or someone sent you an email or hit your website contact form, and how does that start that process of using the AI? All right, so that is the Intelligent OCR webinar. Thank you, Paul and Girard Associates, for really coming on and showcasing that use case. If you are interested in anything that we talked about today, let us know. We can, discuss it. Maybe it's just kind of validating your idea, but very interested in, hearing more from everyone here. So we look. I don't think there's any open questions at the moment. If you do have any questions, you want to post them in the Q&A portal, definitely do that now, and we can take any questions that you guys have. All right. Well, I appreciate the time, everyone. No questions today, just completely fine. Hopefully that means I explained it and Paul explained it very well. It means we're really good at demoing. So we'll take that as a good sign, and we will see you guys on the next one. Appreciate all the time. Thanks, everyone.